Hello, this is John Speelman with the video version of my latest column, number 228, for June the 1st, 2025, which I've called, because it's about resignation, Keeping the King Upright, so not resigning sometimes. And by the way, at the very end, I realised that I hadn't wished Nigel Short a happy birthday. He's actually 60 today. As I write, so let's just put the I there for incidentally and save that. Okay, so what I said was, when you start playing chess, it's all a bit of a blur and there's no real reason to resign because people often mess things up. When you get more experienced, it becomes actually part of the etiquette. You save yourself pain, and okay, one time in a million you might get away with it, but it's rude and unpleasant to carry on. Though if you're a kid, if you're sort of 7 or 8 or 9 even maybe, and you carry on not resigning, it's what happens. And also there's all this internet chess now, which I must say has not improved the etiquette of chess, and that's leached out a bit, I think, over the board. So then I said, right, the reason I'm writing this is I've got some examples about resignation, and the first one, this is column 228. The first one, this was on a different platform. It was chess.com championship or something, and Nakamura was playing Carlsen. It was a rapid play game, 10 minutes each I think, and they reached this position eventually. Okay, it's been an interesting battle. Magnus thought he had a winning combination. He played rook takes, which is a mistake, check here, bishop, rook f3, here. And Magnus was lucky enough that he didn't realise that his combination didn't work. Because if he had, there would have been a great temptation to, I don't know, to do something about it. And that would have been a mistake. So what actually happened was that Magnus played this move instantly. If he'd thought about it and then played it with an air of low cunning, even over the internet, I think Hikaru would have realised. He said it was the Magnus effect, but clearly he hadn't seen this move. It was obviously devastating, and he resigned. Quite quickly, I think, I don't know, some number of seconds. Well, they had 3 minutes on the clock, and then Magnus. People have, excuse me. I haven't watched the video myself, but somebody said that Magnus then turned an engine on once the game was over, and blanched because he realised that White then has this move, after which he is winning. And there are various ways you can try. He'd have tried this. Check. By the way, knight c1 is also a good move actually, but there we are. What happens? Knight c1, the bishop h5, takes. This also should be winning because, okay, you just do a pawn up eventually. But it would be a bit of a fight. Okay, but so queen e8 check, rook back, queen to there, and there are a couple of lines. Rook f8, you can just go rook takes g4. So if you go rook f8, rook g4, queen g4, queen f8 check, that's fairly simple. Yeah, sorry, here. There's also rook g7, you just play queen f2, getting control of the position really. Or there is bishop f4, which is maybe the best you can do. Rook back is necessary. Now bishop f3 gets mated in 1, of course. Something like rook to there. Takes, take. Knight to there, and White should win. It's not trivial, but I gave this line and this will do. White will keep enough pawns to win. So basically Hikaru resigned in a winning position. It does happen. The most famous example I know of, I thought it was Marco Popiel, but actually it's Popiel Marco. I've seen it in books. They reached this position here, and White played rook d1, And black resigned, because he's losing a piece, isn't he? Well, is he? Have a look and see if you can see the reason that black is not only not losing a piece, but winning. So the answer is, we'll go back. The answer is bishop g1, exclaim, threatening mate in one move. And thus unpinning. It was only a relative pin, not an absolute one, if you know what the difference is. An absolute pin, the piece can't move because it's pinned against the king. A relative pin, it can move, and sometimes with devastating effect. Best you can do is this. Okay, you're threatening rook e8, mate, but queen d7, and you're winning. Rather easily. So, famous example. Then I gave... this is a position. What happened was, this was in not the British Chess Magazine, not the BCM in 1984, when Murray Chandler was the editor. I think he owned it as well. He was the proprietor. What happened is that black offered white a draw, slightly cheekily, perhaps, and white said, play a move, please. So black had a think, and then eventually he did that. So actually it's mate in 3 more moves. Rook b3 check, king a1, rook checks, bishop a6, rook takes bishop mate. And white was so shocked that he resigned, forgetting that he had asked for a move, and therefore he could just said thank you for your offer of the draw, which might have led to a certain amount of fuss potting, but it's the rules as they are. I don't know, it was in Australia 1983 actually, it says. Who knows? Anyway, it won the best blunder competition. I know that Tony Mars and myself were part of the panel. I can't remember who the rest were. I couldn't find my Not the BCM. My room is in even more of a mess than it often is at the moment. Okay, so I know where it ought to be approximately, but I couldn't find it. Then I gave this example. This is a famous game, Deep Blue against Kasparov. And what happened was that after rook to there, Kasparov resigned, because taking the queen is going to lose. And he didn't believe, of course, that he had remotely got a chance in this position. But in fact, after rook a6, queen e3, queen takes rook e8, then you can't stop perpetual check. You try h4, and black goes h5 to take away a square from the king, and there's actually nothing to do in this position. It's rather surprising. You can because the bishop's on prise, and you go stop giving checks, and it ends up as a draw. So quite a surprising thing, really. That well, of course, h5 is very useful because it takes that square from the king. And there we are. That, it happens, would have been a way to draw. So Kasparov, confounded by the power of the engine. Of course, engines were less well programmed then than they are now, and they had trouble with the horizon effect, whereby they assessed a position as being winning on material without realising they needed to continue further. And nowadays they have these, what I think are called singular extensions, where if they don't think the position is completely dead, I mean, what's the word? Quiet. I've lost the right word. They carry on until they're happy that they can stop. And I thought I'd do one more thing. I haven't done very much today. This is a game. I thought I could only think of one game, I think, in my life that I resigned in a drawn position. As far as I know, and people do sometimes. It happens occasionally. This is against Peter Sarre, who's my friend, a very good FIDE master. He ought to be an IM. He really ought to have become an IM at some point. Oh God, this is... When we finish this, I'm going to remove the Puma Hotel nonsense, because I don't think I can. Yeah, because that's in details. You can't do that in a PGN column, so I will... a PGN file, so I'll stick it in a CBH or CB2H and remove those details, because there's nothing to do with it. It was a London League game. Anyway, it's an interesting game. I just annotated it yesterday. there are many ways to play. I once tried knight c6, knight f3, queen f6, which is somewhat nonsensical. Was against, what's the guy's name? Doubtov. Rustam Doubtov. And when I annotated it, it turned out that he'd seen my internet games and prepared from them, so he knew I played this utter nonsense. Anyway, you can do other things as well. f5 is a better move, I think. And the thing about this position, the knight is quite nice on h6, but you just don't have any space. By the way, computer absolutely hates this move. I think it thinks f5 is good for one thing, just taking this space and saying, well, are you happy, comrade? And clearly you're not in the long term. I guess you could have gone probably d5 and f5 as well. I did this, which is a bit odd, and here Peter played, at this moment he played g4, which happens to be a bad move. I took it, he went there, and now I blundered with bishop c8. I should have played f5, and this is perfectly okay for black, actually. I don't know after e5 what I do. Maybe knight h6 then or something. Can he go e6 then? I guess it's alright. Because there is a threat of rook g4 after e5. I'm just going to ask the engine. So if e5... Maybe I can go knight f2 there even on a good day. Yeah, he just wants to go knight f2 and take the money. Okay. So I went bishop c8, he got this big advantage. He gets to take there, but then he played a bad move. He should have played b3, played b4. Now I get to fight again. And here I missed quite a difficult resource, which is to go here first, and then to go here, to trap in the knight. He goes up, I take, he goes there, and now I have check here, and now I have bishop b7. Hitting his rook. Quite a dirty trick, really. But obviously quite nice for black here. Black is better at this stage. So I missed that. Interesting. I did this at once. Now he gets to win either the exchange or a piece. I decided a piece was more of a chance. He's only got 2 pawns left. I thought I was fighting here. I think I am actually at this point. And here I should just have gone rook d2, and this is perfectly playable actually. This would just be a draw. But I was so disgusted by having played h4 that after rook a4 I resigned, which is a bit ridiculous. And it turns out that this is actually a draw. It's much easier to analyse. Takes. Now I thought that you have to go h3, but then this is winning. Oh, you can go also... You should go king g7 first. And then you actually have to start bringing the king back. If you start going bishop c6, g5, then actually black wins this. Does black win this one? No, but black queens would check. So it happens that after king g7 it is a draw. Bit stupid of me. I was so disgusted with myself that that's what happened. I think this can happen here. Well, this is supposedly a draw. I didn't quite let me just carry this on. So king to here, king to here, king to here. Should I play king a3? Is that all right? Anything where I keep my king, if I go to a3, then this is winning. So I can't go there. But as long as sorry, I've lost question mark. But if I just keep it around here, can I go here as well? Here, check, king b4, bishop f7, king a4. Basically, this position, I mustn't go to a3. The thing is that this is Zugzwang. With black to move, you're losing. But with white to move, it's a draw. Okay, so an interesting position. So that's what I'm doing this week. And as I said, I called it keeping your king upright. I do occasionally, when I'm being clumsy, knock my king over at the start of games, but that is not resigning, that is me being clumsy, and other people do this. And yeah, resignation, it's something you really should do when you're completely lost against a good player, but it's not something you have to do until you're completely sure about the result, and you certainly shouldn't do it in a position which is drawn. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's just have a look at what's happening next month. Let's go down to July. Can we go down to July? It'll be the 6th. The next one will be, I don't know why it's saying June there, it seems to be messed up, my calendar. So I'll see you next on July the 6th, and I hope you've enjoyed this. And there we are. Let's just check I am recording, or our screen, but it'll be an empty screen. And I am, yes, excellent.